Welcome to Right Here, a podcast about mental health, connection, and what it means to be human. I'm Christopher Mooney.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips. Each episode, we unpack the psychological patterns that shape our relationships, our sense of self, and the way we move through the world.
No jargon, no judgment, just thoughtful conversations that invite us to come back to the present moment.
Because when we're right here with ourselves and right here with each other, something shifts.
We get a little clearer, a little more regulated, a little more right.
Right Here is a podcast partnership with WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, streaming online at WPKN.org and via our free listening apps. What are we talking about today? We're talking about alone versus lonely. Another way to look at it is loneliness versus solitude. There's a difference.
Loneliness is not the same as being alone.
Exactly.
Because as human beings, we can be alone.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to cover what actual loneliness is. And we've referenced this before when we've talked about, what is painful to human beings. And I think and loneliness is actually one of the most painful things that we can experience. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about what that means.
Absolutely.
When I was thinking about this and talking with you earlier about loneliness and being alone and the difference, I was thinking about our time. Both of us lived in New York City for a period of time. I think we were there for about 18 years.
22 years.
22 years, yeah. No, that's
Long
a
time.
lot. It's a lot of cortisol that you have to deal with.
And a lot of loneliness.
And a lot of loneliness. I often think about this in reference to Times Square. Mm-hmm. I lived in Hell's Kitchen, and so I was just on the outer ring of the seventh ring of hell, as I like to think of it, which is Midtown and Times Square. But I was thinking about how many times I'd have to go to Times Square to catch the train.
Right.
And you could stand in the middle of Times Square with thousands and thousands of people around you at all times and feel alone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really what I want to talk about today. Like that sensation of like being surrounded by others and having a lot of other human beings around us. Mm-hmm. And what happens if we're around all those people and we still have this sense of loneliness?
Yeah.
Because that's different. Like I can also go for a hike and be way out in the middle of nowhere and not see another human being for hours.
And not feel lonely.
And not feel lonely, but I'm certainly alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I can be alone with myself, with my thoughts, with nature, whatever it might be. So we're going to look at the comparison of the two things.
Right.
And just kind of like and see which one is more painful and what happens when we experience that.
I love it. So loneliness is a state of mind.
Loneliness is a state of mind. It's an emotional experience, right? It's when we're feeling unseen. Yeah. When we're disconnected.
Right.
When we're not really with anyone, right? Mm-hmm. And even when others are present, right? That's that idea of standing in the middle of Times Square, or maybe you're even at home. You might be in a full house, family, and still feel like you're not really connected, or that you're not really there.
So you'll have those feelings of loneliness.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, talk about feeling unseen, and that's that also. If we're not heard, if we don't have a voice, then we experience that too. And then being alone, that's the physical reality, right? So we're looking at the emotional experience versus the physical reality of not having other people around in the moment.
Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that example of being on a trail.
Yeah.
That's being alone and content. So we could argue that that's solitude.
There's a solitude to it, yeah. And I can have a confidence and a belief and faith that I still have people in my life that I'm connected to, even if I'm alone or in solitude. Mm-hmm. Somewhere along the way, these two phrases became confused. And I think we started to conflate loneliness with being alone. Mm-hmm. It's just like we conflate sadness with being depressed. I think you and I probably hear this all the time. I'm depressed today. Mm-hmm. Like, well, were you depressed yesterday? No, yesterday was a great day. And tomorrow could be okay. We don't experience depression in a day.
Right. Depression needs like 6 months of feeling sad, right?
Yeah. We want to make the distinction again here on the podcast about how some of these phrases and words get conflated. Mm-hmm. And I think loneliness and alone are two that this phenomenon happens with. Mm-hmm. When we confuse it, when it becomes conflated, and we start thinking about alone as, loneliness, people started treating it as, there are just not enough people around, instead of this idea of maybe there's just not enough of me present in my own life. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm not heard, maybe I'm not seen. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is people are like, oh, just go out and just be around a big group of people, and that'll help you feel less lonely.
Right.
And that's not really the case here. I think we're actually looking at this other issue of how we're not heard, and how we're not seen. So today, as we get into it, we're going to talk about loneliness as its own experience. It's not a personality flaw. It's not something only isolated people feel.
Right.
But it's a very human signal that something in us wants more contact than we're getting. And we want to be heard. We want to be seen.
That's what humans want, to be seen and heard.
So, Kenyon, you mentioned solitude before, right? So if we're alone and content, as you said,
right.
You're out in the woods or on a trail, you feel content.
It can be at home. It can be, hey, I'm home reading a book or watching Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
And I'm just absolutely not missing anybody, really happy to be where I am and to be quiet.
There's a contentment to that, right? You're alone, nobody's really around. You just feel like this is okay. I feel fine.
I've noticed that after people have children, they really value their solitude.
Oh my God, so much. And it's so hard to find it. When we're alone and hurting, that's loneliness.
Right.
And that's what
That's feeling isolated.
Right. It's feeling isolated, it's feeling disconnected, it's feeling that pain. Sometimes I think physically where we feel that is kind of in our chest. We feel that tightness and maybe that sharp pain in our chest.
Right.
When we're with people and we're connected, that's a sense of belonging. Right. If we're with, we've talked before about our tribe, right?
Absolutely.
As a herd beings, we want to be around others like us. We're connected, similar interests.
We're pack animals.
I'm thinking of like all the World Cup stuff right now going on.
Oh, yeah.
And just like how many, you see these groups of fans and just how cool it is. And then I've seen all these videos of like all the Scotland supporters walking around and the bagpipes and chanting and marching, and then you have all the Norwegian fans doing all the Viking rowing and drums. You have these subgroups. You feel like you belong.
Right.
And then you look at the whole stadium. It's a bigger system of everybody. Like you might be rooting for different teams, but you all belong there watching the World Cup.
Right.
And then it just kind of, I love thinking about how that kind of spreads out and the groups get bigger and bigger.
No, you see it with the Knicks right now.
Yeah.
And, there's going to be this insane parade tomorrow. For the Knicks winning for the first time since the early 70s in New York City.
Right.
You're going to see New Yorkers, a hell of a lot of New Yorkers coming together.
Absolutely. And feeling like they belong.
Exactly.
That is such a great feeling when we feel like we belong, when we're with people and we're connected.
Yeah.
Conversely, when we're with people and we're lonely, that's disconnection.
Right.
We have no company. We have no sense of belonging. And that is, at its core, a pretty painful thing.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot in our episode, Connected But Alone. These social media, quote-unquote, connections are replacing actual connection, in-person connection, and we're suffering as a result of it.
Because we're feeling lonely.
We're not really being seen. Or on social media, we're presenting a front, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing, right? The missing out, and also how we present, and how it's not authentic.
Right.
It doesn't match with the insides.
Yeah.
The other way to think about solitude, when we were thinking about being alone but content, is that we choose it. We choose to be in solitude, as you said before. Like, once you have kids, we like strive for those little moments. It's hard to find.
Yeah.
That's something we're choosing. Solitude, and it's usually restorative.
Absolutely.
When we have that moment to sit down with a book on the couch, coffee, I like to just sit down with an eggplant parm, and just in a kitchen, like at work alone. I did that
yesterday.
Yeah, and probably really restorative.
Highly. Even just being in the car, having, not trucking kids from one place to another, having time by yourself in the car. You were just talking about like your amazing playlist on the way to the studio this morning.
Right. I didn't make a lot of phone calls. I wasn't like worried about a bunch of like other stuff. I was like, I'll figure it out later. It was just time alone.
Right.
That solitude, that was restorative.
Yeah.
Loneliness is not chosen, and it's usually painful.
Right.
It's a feeling about connection, not head count.
Right.
It's not about numbers. It's not a numbers game.
Totally.
When you think about back to like elementary school, middle school, high school, it is a game of numbers. I've got 12 friends in this class. I got 35 friends here. And like, you just think about all the people, and it's all because of proximity. And depending on the school you went to and then the population and how many people were there, typically you had like a large group of friends.
Right.
I think as we get older, that becomes less and less. And when I think in my own life, when I think about the people who I truly feel connected to, that number is not up in the double digits.
No.
Right? I'd like it to be.
Yeah.
But when you think about who you're truly connected to in life, that number over time gets smaller. And it's an important number to think about, because if we have no one, if that number is 0, then we start dealing with depression and anxiety and some really dark thoughts that can kind of slip in with that.
No, absolutely. And, I think that's a response to getting older. When we're kids, we don't have the same stressors. We don't have to work.
No.
And we have more time for play, and we have more time for intimacy and connection. And as we get older, it's the stage of development. It changes. The circumstances change.
It does. It's more of a calculated process too, to say like, hey, I'm busy with all these things.
Work, parenting, caregiving.
And so the moments you do take are specific, and it's important to put effort into that. As you meet up with people. I met my best friend last week for dinner.
Right.
And it has been like months. We've been going back and forth. I've been canceling a lot. He's got stuff going on. And then we find a restaurant somewhere in between us, and we just like met. It's nice to be connected, being able to say, okay, I know I can sit here, pick up where we left off months ago, and just kind of continue. There was a contentment in that, right? There's a feeling seen, there's a feeling heard.
There's trust in that, I think.
Right.
And I was just commenting on the same thing to an old friend. Isn't it great that we can just pick up where we left off and trust that we'll be able to do that?
That trust it's the connection, and it's feeling seen and feeling heard. You know that person in your life sees you and hears you. They also just know that you exist.
Right.
So even when you're not present, you still exist in their life.
Like you're in my consciousness. I think of you. Do we text or call every day? No.
Right.
But we're good.
Right. Even when you're not face to face or haven't talked in months.
Right. There's a thing that's happening, going back to the digital connection, which I have a question mark at the end of, the posts, group chats, likes. It's almost the illusion of being seen.
It's views.
It's views.
How many views did you get even?
Absolutely. And it's easy to conflate. People know what I'm doing because of what I'm posting with people know how I am. I don't know how somebody's doing based on their social media posts.
No, because they're not telling you how they're doing. Or if they are, it might be a snippet of that moment, right? And it's curated.
It's highly curated. I'm only going to post something that's going to paint me in a good light or portray me as happy, content, thriving, successful.
Yeah. So this is an issue around why we're so lonely, right? Like why we might feel so lonely, even when we have a full life, or we appear as having a full life. So you're talking about digital connection, posting stuff, having people look at it, see it, but they're not really connecting with you. Right. We're not connecting with other people when we do that.
Right.
Like I might look at the posts people are putting up and think like, yeah, I have a really good idea about what's going on in their life right now. But you're right. I have no idea what's going on with them unless I reach out to them specifically and say, how are you doing?
Right.
Which we don't do much.
No. And in the best case scenario, social media can prompt us to do that. That's exactly what happened last night. A friend posted something. I was so strongly affected by it, moved by it, that I just picked up the phone and said, hey. And he was like, why are you calling? I was like, I saw your post. And then we ended up having this impromptu conversation.
Yeah.
And catching up that was intimate, where he was seen, I was seen.
So it can be used as a tool when used correctly, but I feel like the social media thing has just become, it's just misused.
Absolutely.
Right? Or just not used the right way.
And that's why you have situations where somebody has millions of views and still feels lonely.
Of course. So the challenge then to people, and I think you and I have actually done this a few times, has been interesting to see the feedback we've gotten, is have a little bit more rawness on your posts.
Yeah.
Or just check in and say, hey, today this is what's going on.
Right.
If we push to be a little more vulnerable, we can also then maybe pull some people in if they are willing to do that to connect.
Oh, always.
So suddenly, like, that's part of our responsibility, right? Is like, if we're a little more vulnerable, sometimes people they'll pick up on that, and it allows the other person to be more vulnerable too. Right. The other thing that makes us feel lonely, even when life is full or seems full, is this idea of busyness. How often do you catch up with somebody? You're like, hey, how are things going? You're like, oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm busy. Very busy. Everything's busy. And we're over-functioning all the time. Our schedules are packed with work, parenting, caregiving, logistics, sports, more sports.
We're overly scheduled.
I'm just having all of the hockey weekends and practices, and I don't even go to all of them. My wife does. Yeah. But it's like 4 days a week plus weekends, both weekend days. Lacrosse is the same thing. And that's one kid.
Yeah.
You start thinking about like everything. And then I think about the things I want to do and the things we want to do for work and the things we want. Yeah, it's too much.
It's a lot. And there is I think, tacit sort of understanding, acceptance among us that we're just supposed to do it. We're just supposed to make things happen. And the only way to manage an unmanageable schedule would be to sacrifice connection with others, time spent mitigating loneliness.
Well, because relationships become project management. Think about that example I used earlier about meeting up with my friend last week. It took us 2 or 3 months to figure out a day that worked with both of our schedules, with his kids, with my kids, partners, with work, with all of it.
Yeah.
And it becomes project management, scheduling, tasks, rides, bills, how are we going to get there, in between things. It becomes a second job.
And it's no wonder people flake.
Of course. And have that sense of relief of like, oh, thank God I don't have to do this, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't leave any space for like a deeper conversation, really. If I'm just, okay, let's figure out the logistics here.
Right.
And then we have 20 or 30 minutes together before we have to go back to our lives.
Yeah, think about that, Kenyon. Like, think about how much time you have for a deeper conversation or just simply being present with somebody.
Right.
If I'm looking at my watch and going like, oh, dude, I got to go.
Yeah.
I got like 10 minutes. What do you want? If I felt like the pressure even now just talking to you and saying, oh, dude, I got to go. Like, that is how I've done that. I think I've done it to you. Be like, yeah, I got to go. I got to run. So
we do it to each other because we have to. But the good news is, with our relationship, we're working together. But it's tough if you don't have that kind of a connection with somebody, and the little time you do have together is sort of spoiled by logistics management. Then that's hella lonely.
When we talked with Jake about this, even like the idea of like what role men play, and then we look at the other side, what role are women playing, and it complicates this process, right? Are we the strong one, the responsible one? Are we the helper? Are we the parent? Are we the caregiver? We start to look at all the different roles we play within the family, at work, with friends, with everybody. And that, I mean, extended family too. Those roles can be meaningful, but they can still be lonely if nobody sees us or connects with us, or if we get lost in that role.
Yeah.
Like if we're just going through the motions to fulfill the role, people might not see us.
Arguably, if they're playing a role well, I can't go outside of this role and just be a human. If I'm the parent or I'm the strong one, I think you said, then I can't break down.
That's right.
And yet maybe I need to break down. Maybe I need a friend to break down with.
Absolutely. Let's take it a step further and even look at when somebody's the identified patient or a problem or client. And this kind of speaks to mental health struggles. When somebody is the identified problem or the identified, person with a mental health issue, they can't break out of that role either. And they're really not seen because they're only seen as the problem. They're only seen as the person struggling. They're only seen as the person who causes, think about substance use issues. You're the person in the family that always screws this thing up, right? You're always using drugs, you're gambling, you're doing all these things. It's really hard. That role then is assigned to them.
Right.
And they can't break out of it. And they're not seen.
Right.
Or they only see themselves for the thing that they've been defined as.
Right. They see themselves through a lens of shame.
Right.
And then how can you recover? How can you come back from that?
That is such a space of loneliness and pain. If we deal with people in our family or friends or just people in our lives that are dealing with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, substance use issues, like to keep in mind that those experiences are so isolating already that if we treat them that way, it's going to cause an even bigger divide.
And while we're on the topic of destigmatization, I think it's important to understand that loneliness is not a sign that you've failed at relationships or that there's something wrong with you. Often, it can be a sign that your life has been organized around responsibilities, role play for so long that there's just very little room left for you to have an emotional life.
That's right. You start to feel like these ideas are like, oh, I have friends, I shouldn't feel this way, or these feelings get buried inside. And so that just deepens it. We start living and filling these roles that you're talking about. It creates more loneliness because there is no space left for us.
Exactly. And we can look at them through the lens of like patterns. We've been alluding to this already, but parenting loneliness, where you're surrounded by your kids all day in some cases, and feeling like no adult really knows what your day is like. Maybe you have a partner, but you don't actually have time to tell your partner what your day was like, or what you're going through, or what you're challenged by, or what you're excited about. And it can be, okay, so I'm surrounded by my spouse and my kids, but I still feel alone.
This is like the same feeling corrections officers talk about.
Yeah.
Right? Getting locked inside and nobody really knows. They're not identifying with the prisoners, and no one on the outside knows what that's like. But when you're saying like the parenting loneliness, it's like, oh yeah, that's like what we hear about, like with that kind of level of trauma with people who work in corrections and environments where they get locked in with the people.
It's true though.
Yeah. And I'm not saying all kids are like convicts, but it can feel that way sometimes.
Sometimes you're just locked up with them.
The antisocial part, there's an overlap, but that's just development.
Last night, my wife she was like, oh my God, I can't. Because my 8-year-old was like telling her she was the worst after she told him no. And she's like, I start to believe it.
Yeah.
I'm locked up with these people. I have no perspective.
Just let me out. But hey, that's a really good point. Like when you're feeling that way, just go out. Just open the door. Just open the door and get some fresh air. Something.
Absolutely.
Right? But that's you end up filling that role, and you can't always leave.
No.
So you end up filling that role, and then you're going through the motions, and you don't feel like anyone sees you, especially the person you're trying to help.
Absolutely.
Like with parenting, it's difficult because you're keeping your kids alive. A colleague of mine years ago said that the first 3 to 5 years of parenting is basically being on like one-to-one observations for somebody who wants to try to off themselves constantly, and not because they're trying to, but just by nature of a kid, you're just trying to keep them alive.
They get into trouble.
Yeah. They fall, they do all sorts of stuff. So you're basically on like a one-to-one relationship with this person.
Don't put that in your mouth.
Yeah. Don't eat that. Don't put that in your mouth. Eat this. Don't do that. Do you need to go to the bathroom? Oh my God, you fell. Do you need this? Do I need to bring you to the ER?
Yeah.
It's constant.
But even for people who don't have kids, there's partnership loneliness.
Of course.
Where you're sharing a bed or a home.
Yeah.
But the conversations, the passion kind of saps away, and pretty soon all we're talking about sometimes is logistics. How many people come for couples counseling and say, we just feel like we're roommates? It's not like we're fighting necessarily, but we just feel like we're business partners or,
It's all just transactions.
Transactions and logistics. And then also there are definitely situations, I think, with partnership loneliness where one partner will try to bring up, hey, this dynamic isn't working for me, and just kind of be met with defensiveness or I don't have time for this. Sorry.
Kind of like shut down, right?
Yeah.
Like shut out.
Yeah. Or just a distraction.
Yeah.
And, even people who are in a relationship and having sex and doing things that are symbolically intimate can also feel lonely.
That's a really good point, Kenyon. Like sometimes, and that's still going through the motions. And I love the way you put that, symbolically intimate. And it represents connection.
Right.
But there's something that's missing. There's something that's not there.
Right. Because there's the time isn't being taken.
There's so much more.
Right.
That needs to go into that. How much time are you putting in before and after? And how much attentiveness and just being open or vulnerable.
We keep coming back to it, but I think vulnerability is that pathway to connection, a bridge between people.
Yeah, and everyone is terrified of being vulnerable because it conflates with weakness, and we can get hurt. And I think even if we haven't been hurt or hurt badly by being vulnerable, I think there's just part of human nature. We know we can be hurt, therefore we're going to protect that.
Absolutely.
And so it's very difficult. It's an effort to be vulnerable.
Yeah, it's tough. And especially if you've identified yourself as, going back to the roles of, oh, I'm the strong one.
Right.
If we feel like we have to be the person that everyone can lean on and depend on at all times, often we don't feel like we can lean on anyone else.
No.
We don't want to burden anybody else.
Yeah, I don't want to put this on anyone. They're dealing with their own issues, right? Or they don't want to deal with my issues,
right?
Then we end up feeling invisible behind that facade of competence,
right?
You look at all the things I'm doing. Look at how well I present,
right?
But you pull it's the Wizard of Oz thing, right? You pull the curtain back, and what's back there?
Yeah,
just a tearful aging man.
Absolutely. It's true.
I'm just crying on the inside.
Absolutely. But maybe if we cried on the outside, we could forge some kind of connection and feel less lonely.
Somebody might ask us what's wrong at least, which would be nice.
That would be
Or
great.
how we're doing, not even what's wrong.
Yeah.
Let's not assume it's wrong.
Yeah.
Let's just say what's going on.
That's why occasionally you will see people on social media, and I think using it healthily and having a breakdown and just saying like, hey, I'm having a really hard time.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that requires being vulnerable.
I want to know what's going to happen to the algorithm. Like every person's individual algorithm. If we start looking for like, emotional vulnerability,
right?
In your
men crying,
men crying. That's a whole
hashtag men crying.
Yeah, that's a whole subreddit, I think.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure.
The thing too, and I think speaking to the social media and you're going to be coming up on this in a few years, I think, with your kids, and I'm like right on the cusp. There's this idea of teen loneliness, and I think it's exacerbated by social media. It's a constant feed. So we used to be able to go home and like you'd leave school and typically you'd not be exposed to any of the bad stuff anymore. And your brain would still mull over it. It would still be bad. You'd sit with it. But there was like some level of reprieve, hopefully, depending on family life and home life and other things that were going on. But the general idea was that there was some reprieve when you left those situations. Now, there's just a constant online barrage of information. It's text messages, it's screenshots, it's TikTok, it's everything that kind of like gets flooded. And it's on until the kid puts their phone down and goes to bed. If we don't have limits on screen time, if we don't have limits on their text messaging on everything, and I push strongly for that, because there is just a constant feed of information. Now, some of it can be positive, and that's great. If you're like, oh, I'm connecting with my friends, I'm doing this, we're just talking about plans for the weekend.
Right.
Awesome. But that can turn so quickly, especially with the emotional ability of teenagers.
Right.
When I say, emotional ability, I mean like how fast they change emotions.
No, it's mercurial.
Yes.
And that's a real risk for the psyche, for anybody's sense of self.
Of course.
That the experience of that is really disconcerting.
That's such an internal process anyway that I think most teens are very aware of. Oh my God, I'm all over the place. 1 minute I'm hot, 1 minute I'm cold, 1 minute I'm angry, 1 minute I'm happy. Like when you think about how fast those emotions change as a teenager and you're figuring it out and you're going through development, you already don't feel understood.
Right.
Every teenager goes through life going like, nobody gets me. Nobody really understands me. Maybe 1 or 2 friends. But like, there's already a sense of who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? And then nobody gets it. And then you add on this whole like facade and the online presence and everything. It complicates it to the nth degree. And it actually becomes very damaging.
It really
and
does.
Instantly. Like that's the thing. It can change in a moment. And that's what I think is so scary when we start to think about how an online presence or having access even to social media and some of those things can be.
Absolutely. As somebody who works with teens a lot, it's so fascinating to me, the patterns that I see, that you see, where they are still mostly kids, but they're in these bodies and they're at this stage of development where they're expected, or they believe they're expected to be tough,
right,
self-sufficient, and yet they have strong needs and strong insecurities. And a lot of the work I end up doing with teens is just to like create a safe space for them to be vulnerable and admit that they don't have it all figured out.
Therapy is that. It's creating a space where people can figure out. Most therapists don't have the answer.
Right.
We have suggestions for things you might want to look at.
Yeah.
You know, and based on patterns and experience and you know, education and things. But at the end of the day, people can figure it out. Each individual can figure the thing out if given enough space to be vulnerable safely. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think that's something to take a look at.
Yeah. And to recognize what tools they actually do have.
Right. Mm-hmm. So let's look at some of those things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some small, real things we can do.
To mitigate loneliness.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. First, we want to name it. Mm-hmm. Always. You know, and this is the same thing. We feel depressed. We feel angry. We've talked about this endlessly, and I'm going to keep talking about it. And you can say, I feel lonely. Mm-hmm. I'm pathetic, not I'm failing. Don't start with the I shoulds, I shouldn't, like all of the...
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, all those negative thinking styles, right? The unhelpful thinking styles, which are known as cognitive distortions, but we don't want to do that.
We just call it the negativity buffet.
That's right. That's right.
All you can eat.
The throwback. But you want to just name it, I feel lonely. I feel this. Right. And this shifts it from shame, from like the what's wrong with me, to a signal. Remember, every issue we deal with mental health, it's not wrong. You're not broken. It's your brain telling you something's off. It's your brain saying, pay attention to this. Yeah. It's not something's broken, something's wrong with you. It's, hey, something happened.
That message from the deeper self, right?
So if we say, I feel lonely, that is our brain telling us and signaling, I want more connection. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling like I'm disconnected from people right now. Mm-hmm. Second, we want to aim for depth, not just numbers. Remember I said before, like, this isn't a numbers game.
Right.
You want one or two really strong. Aim for one just to start.
Person we feel safe with.
Yeah.
Okay.
One. Yeah. Thank you for finishing my sentence. Like it was a complete thought in my mind.
Numbers.
Yeah. Numbers. Aim for one person.
Right.
So, but a few questions you can like ask yourself is like, who in my life feels even halfway safe to be a little more honest with?
Right.
You know, where do I feel even a small spark of being seen? Is there somebody who if I like reflect, do they just kind of like get it?
I love that.
So if we deepen one or two connections a little bit rather than adding 10 new ones, it's so much easier.
Yeah, don't just add friends.
I'm going to take a really quick hard right here. So often clients will ask me, well, what gives you purpose? Because I talk about purpose all the time, right? When we think about like, hey, why are you here? What do you want to do with your life?
I always say intention. I love that.
Yeah. That's so my purpose, and it's a work in progress always. And I've thought about this a lot when people have asked, finding people in my life, and I assign like a percentage, like a value, and I say, okay, this person knows me 60%. You know, I always ask people, like, think of the person who knows you the most, who's the most connected to you. What number would you give them?
Right.
I have never heard anyone say above a 75 or an 80, if they're really being honest.
Wow.
And even people who have been in relationships a long time.
Yeah.
So my purpose and what I challenge people to do, and I'm challenging everybody out there to kind of like think about and reflect on, think about the person who is in your life, give them a value, like what percentage.
Right.
Do everything you can to push that number up.
Okay. So if somebody is, I feel like they know me 65%, try to push that up to like 80.
Yeah. What do you need to do? Not what do they need to do.
No.
What do you need to do?
To reveal myself.
To make that an 80%. That includes talking to them and saying, hey, I'd like you to know me a little more, or I'd like to have a stronger connection.
Yeah.
So when I think about that, my purpose in life is to make sure that all of the people in my life on a spectrum, I'm moving that number up.
Right.
At all times.
Right.
That's just it's a nice challenge, or it's a nice thing to just kind of like reflect on.
And in terms of like how we do that, we can look at, taking honesty risks.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
So if you see somebody you trust, instead of just, after they say how you're doing, sort of perfunctorily, instead of just saying I'm fine, you could say like, well, I'm okay. But honestly, I've been really feeling lonely lately, and I don't really know why. Or, just saying to somebody, you meet up with somebody and you have very little time with them. Hey, could we maybe put our phones away when we meet up for coffee?
Yeah.
I miss like really talking to you and just being fully present. And I can't do that if I'm holding on my phone, right? I have it on the table.
Yeah, even if it's on the table, right? Like that idea, it's just
Which I do all the time.
Sure.
Hey, can we plan something that's not just logistics? Can we just go for a walk and not worry about
that's
cars and parking and movies and shows and dinners and reservations?
Right. So just make it basically making it as simple as possible just to connect.
Yeah.
Just to walk.
Taking away whatever the logistical sort of obstacles may be.
I love the idea of just going for a walk with somebody.
Yeah.
It's raw, it's simple. And in its movement, so you're changing your physical state.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. That was the best thing I got from living in Italy all those years ago was they just fare un passeggiare. That's a thing they do, is to take a walk.
I love it.
We can create these kind of regular scheduled anchor points of connection that don't have to be a big deal.
Yeah. And to be clear, we're not talking about like having this grand confessional that you have to come out and be like, hey, this is how I'm feeling and this is what's going on with my life, right?
No.
Just one more bump up. You don't have to go from a 60 to an 80 overnight.
No.
Right? You can go 62, 63, 70.
Just being a little more honest.
Yeah. Small little steps.
Absolutely.
And some of those other anchor points, right? Like commit to making a weekly call with somebody or that walk with a friend or having like a standing coffee or at school drop off.
There's a group of dads, the Cool Dads Club, we call ourselves, which is totally uncool. And we meet when we can on Thursdays after school drop off.
We have this same thing at my kid's school, and I'm actually like we were joking yesterday. It was my son's 4th grade graduation. They had a whole thing.
Yeah.
A bunch of us were talking. We're like, oh man, what are we gonna do next year? They're all going to middle school. It's like you drive and basically like as you're rolling, kick the kid out of the car.
Right.
Like there's gonna be no more like hanging out. So we were talking about how we want to do this thing. Like maybe we meet for coffee like afterwards.
Yeah.
I think we should. That sense of community, right? Find a moment where you can actually connect to somebody. It's so important.
Yeah. And build it into your schedule so it's not a big lift.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is important is allowing ourselves to feel solitude and build moments of solitude into our lives. And by that, I mean being alone without feeling lonely. That restorative moment you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. You know, just intentionally choosing some alone time.
Yeah, the intention. And that's so important. We've talked before about setting intention and that's we're going to make the best effort we can to follow through. And if we drift from that, bring yourself back to like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Exactly. Intention. You have your fishing pole.
Oh man. Yeah.
Right?
I thought about it on the way down here too. I was like, I got an extra half hour. I could just stop.
Yeah.
I didn't, but I should have.
Yeah, but it's no big whoop, right? You just you can pull over, you know where the rivers are, you know, and you know, that's intentional time for you to spend by yourself that's restorative. It can be watching an episode of something. It can be reading.
Kenyon, tell me what it's not though.
It is not isolation. We're not talking about leaning into maladaptive behaviors.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm lonely and miserable, so I'm just going to stay home and smoke weed, drink.
Doom scroll.
Yeah. But I think, I truly think part of healing loneliness is building the capacity to be with ourselves kindly, to enjoy ourselves as we are. And also the other half of it is what we've mostly been talking about, which is letting other people see us.
Absolutely. When we choose solitude, when we make that choice and we go for it, it makes the alone time that we have feel less scary. This is like
100%.
Anxiety treatment, right? It's like when you feel anxious, push yourself through it. There's no way around it. It builds up your tolerance again. It builds up that muscle to say, yeah, I can be alone. Maybe going for a hike where there's nobody around for like hours and hours is a lot. Maybe that's too much. But you build that muscle over time and it gives your system a break from all the social performances.
So, you know, if you're experiencing loneliness, you are not the only person who's experiencing loneliness in the midst of other people.
Yeah.
You know, lying in bed next to someone or in a crazy office.
It doesn't mean that you're broken either. So if it means that some part of you it's still insisting that you want to be known, you want to be met. Something about you is important.
I love what you said earlier about that. Like, it's a message from within.
Yeah.
It's a signal that something needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, any of these things that we kind of like label and treat and kind of like focus on as like issues, we can take another look at it or a different perspective and look at like, what's my brain trying to tell me? What's my body trying to tell me?
Right.
You know, and I think with the loneliness, it's sending a signal that you need more connection.
Yeah. And it's not something that we can necessarily fix overnight.
Right.
It's not like we need to compulsively or impulsively suddenly become more extroverted. You know, we can start with, as we said earlier, these honesty risks. One small, slightly braver conversation than you would necessarily have with somebody you trust.
Absolutely.
One text, maybe, that's a little more honest, a little more revealing. And as you said, choosing presence over performance. Thanks for listening to Right Here, a podcast partnership with WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, streaming online at WPKN.org and via our free listening apps. If today's conversation resonated with you, we encourage you to follow, review, and share Right Here with anyone you think would appreciate it.
We'll be back soon with another conversation designed to bring a little more light to the human condition. I'm Christopher Mooney.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Right Here is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact a local emergency service or your trusted mental health professional.